Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put our First Division Coventry City winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin, and as always, I'm your host Mike. With me today, we have Sarah and Johnnie, and we will be covering the loss away to Bradford this time. We've mixed it up a little bit. It's exciting. It's not just another loss. It's away to Bradford. We're going to then look forward to the visit of Colchester and Ali Smith coming to pile on some more pressure. I did message him and asked if there's any chance of a couple of penalties or own goals. He has not yet responded, so we will see where that goes. Engagement is always important. Please like, share, give retweets and all the rest of it, comments. It really is appreciated. Thank you very much to everyone who does it, as always. Amazingly, I don't know how I've managed to work my plan of this way. I normally spread things out, but both of you were on together only a couple of weeks ago. So how have you been? We'll start with you, Johnnie. How are you?
Yeah, I think everyone else has just stopped bothering with the away games, haven't they? I think we're the only two left. I know, all good football aside. I mean, I feel like I've accepted it at this point. I'm just like, okay, on with life. So I think it's the stages of grief, isn't it? And I'm at the end of that cycle now.
Yeah. So you've answered one of the questions for later. You've moved from belief from all the way past hope to now expectation. Okay, that's fun. Sarah, how are you and where are you on the grief scale?
I have to apologise. I think my signal's pretty bad. I hardly heard anything that you said so far.
Okay.
I think I know what you're asking me. I'm moving out of denial and into acceptance. Actually, I've skipped a few stages. I know I went through the anger stage quite a short and intense burst after the Wrexham game. So I'm moving towards acceptance now.
Fair enough. Okay, so that's good. COD news, to be honest, I didn't actually pick anything up. There's no ladies game today. The next ladies match is next Sunday, and I believe it's at Gander Green Lane, but let's not take my word for that. We will find out for definite. I was speaking to Lucy this week, so we'll find out for absolute definite, but I believe it's Sunday at Gander Green Lane. Johnnie, I know you went to see them last week. How was that? I mean, was that a tick for you, or was it just because they were quite close?
No, I've been to Fisher a few times. I live really local, so I just thought I'll pop down. It's 20 minutes door to door, and yeah, check it out. I keep saying I'll go and see them play on one of the games closer to me. I'm really bad at it. Gets around to Sunday and I've got stuff to do, and I've been at some northern away day and I won't get out of bed till midday. But yeah, I had no excuses this time, so I thought I'll get down and watch. New manager, they look good. They look pretty solid against a good side as well. So yeah, lots of positive things for the future, I think, and it's exciting times.
Yeah. The assistant manager, it was his first game, and he tweeted something about it, and I looked and thought, I know this. Why do I know this guy? And I saw I've been following him, and I was like, I have no idea why I'm following him. And it was something that he'd said about women's football about 2 years ago, when he was first doing his badges, and he kind of takes all women's feminine products with him to matches, and he was like, this is just such a simple thing, and he just brings it along. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to get a follow now, mate, because that is an obvious. It's one of those obvious things that when it's said, you're like, oh yeah, why didn't that happen by all coaches? And I was like, oh, that's so nice. He's now with Sutton United as well, so he's our assistant manager as well. So that'll be really good, and yeah, hopefully things will stabilise for them, and I will find out a bit more on Monday, tomorrow, and it gets released on Wednesday alongside the chat I'm having with Steve as well. So it'll be a Meet the Managers chat, which could be a long one if they're both talkative, or it could be a very, very brief one if they're not. So we'll find out. But all being well, that should be out on Wednesday. So did you guys have any look at the team lineup beforehand when it was released about 2:15 and saw that Eastie was in the team and then Harry Smith was captain? Did that cause any conversation?
Yeah, we noticed the first thing we noticed on the group chat, and then very quickly unnoticed it again, I guess, when it was corrected. I mean, I actually thought it's because he's got such a reputation with the refs now, Harry, that if he's the captain, he can get away with them all. But then I thought that Eastie's exactly the same, so it couldn't have been that.
Yeah, Sarah, there was one comment someone said is, well, I mean, we know it didn't happen anyway, but one person said, well, Eastie's captain, whether he's got the armband or not. So maybe it was, as Johnny said, a chance for someone else to have some responsibility. But in general, Sarah, what did you think about the lineup? He does like to change things. I think I only got 8 on my thing. But what did you think about the lineup?
Yeah, I don't bother guessing anymore. It was easy with Matt, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, I kind of like how things are changing. I mean, I'd liked it at first, how he's changing things about, because he's trying to get to know the squad and who works best where. And also there's an element of, are you kind of looking at who we're playing and making changes to kind of, suit what we need to do against that particular opponent. Also, I think there's kind of an element of, we got a reputation for being very predictable. Mm-hmm. And if we're completely changing our team lineup from one week to the next, it kind of might throw a few people. So that's a good thing. But also, I mean, there's a balance to be struck there, isn't there? I quite like to settle down a little bit and have sort of work on some of the like partnerships and, capitalize on what does go well, I suppose. So it'd be nice to see a little bit more settled. But then the thing about Harry Smith, someone was saying, I can't remember who it was, and I completely agree with them, that it could be a good thing for him to be captain, because giving him a little bit of responsibility might kind of, it seems to give him like a bit more of a sort of drive in a way. He's really conscious of that, and he's not going to get himself into trouble, because he's not the sort of player who goes seeking trouble, but he's the sort of person who is expected to get into trouble, mainly because of his physique, I suppose. So I think that's probably good for him at the same time. So I was musing on that, and then it didn't happen.
No, exactly. So, correction. We just wanted to give something to talk about. I mean, one of the questions that someone suggested I put to Steve, which I was like, I can answer that. There's only one kind of answer he can give to that, really, is does he know his best 11 yet? And his answer is going to be along the lines of yes. And it will depend on, like we said, who we're playing, what the conditions are like, who's available, who's had good training. But his answer would be yes. So I'm not going to answer those kind of questions. But it is interesting to kind of go, Johnny, with the settled sort of core 8-9 players, or mixing it up a little bit. I mean, I'm not sure there's any right way or wrong way. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there are certain players that I'd like to see play every week. I really like Charlie Lakin. I think he's lively, got a lot of energy in midfield. I think he's technically a very good player as well. So I like to see Charlie play. I actually think Sam Hart probably deserves to run the games. He's been doing quite well recently. So I'd like to see him have more of a chance. I mean, him and Nino are players that you can probably rotate a little bit easier. So especially if we're going with a 5 at the back, the wing back role is a lot of running in there. I think Nino he's a good player. At Wrexham, he looked knackered when they got their second goal, and I thought that's probably when you want 70 minutes maybe you want your fullback coming off the bench. I think Smith's got to be starting every game. So you'll start to see a core of the team. The centre backs seem to be pretty settled. You've got that core, and then maybe a little bit more rotation in the positions where there's more running involved, I guess. And hopefully we see a bit more of Jude McKenna. He's just maybe he's looking for it, or whatever it is, but he comes on. He's just so technically a level above the rest of the league. Really, it's not actually quite happened for him yet in terms of goals and assists, but I mean, given the game time, I'm sure it will.
I love his quick feet, don't you? His quick little moves, and he's got such pace on him. But he's maybe one of those players that you can't necessarily keep up with that for 90 minutes. So I think he works very well as an impact sub, but you've got to pick the right moment for that, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, heading into the game, some very optimistic people were pointing out this is our first chance of a double. Well, not our first chance, because surely there's been other teams, but it was a chance of a double victory. How hopeful were you guys heading up?
More hopeful than I should have been, probably. That's me, though. I'm ever the optimist. Yeah, I actually, I think it's because of the way we played on Tuesday. It given me some hope, even though we lost. But it given me some hope, and I thought actually, we do have a chance to do this, and I'm not going to jump ahead or anything, but Bradford weren't playing that well, and we could have won that game. I did feel like this was something he could do, so I was quite hopeful.
Johnny, how are you feeling?
Yeah, kind of the same. I'm naturally a pessimist. I always think the worst is going to happen, just because if it does, then I'm less sort of shocked by it, less disappointed by it. I'm like mentally ready. But I mean, I'm kind of naturally thinking there's a chance I wouldn't be travelling to these games and going to these places. And maybe if things do get really bad, then I'll think actually Harrogate in April now. I can't be asked. But I'm still going at this point. There's part of me is hoping, and we are playing quite well. That's the thing. We're not getting battered 4-0.
No,
we do actually look like a good team, which actually makes it more annoying. You kind of, there is a bit of this sense of the inevitable, though. Like we're the better team. We're having chances. We missed there was a chance on something like 52 minutes where the corner gets scrambled away and Lakin puts a rebound over it. I turned around at that point and went, inevitably, within a few minutes they'll go 1-0 up, sure enough. It's just that, that's a frustrating thing. And once we get over that, and it's almost like a mental block. Certainly I'm stuck under that mental block. I just didn't even get excited at our chances. You're just thinking, they're not going to go in. And once we get past that, then you never know. I
mean, on the travelling, I know this probably definitely doesn't apply to you two, because I spoke to someone last week who was like, I did promise myself at the start of the season I'm going to do every away game, and I'm feeling like I really don't want to. And I was like, okay, I'm talking from my point of view where I don't go to any of them, but it's like, no, if you've promised yourself to set yourself that target and you're this close, you kind of got to do it. It doesn't matter about the football. It's that achievement, and I know it's not an achievement for you guys because you've done it for like donkeys, but you kind of got to keep going, especially if that's something you've set yourself. The football can't interfere with your own hopes.
I kind of get the people that have been looking. I mean, there was someone, I won't name him, at Morecambe, who at the end of the game he goes, I need a mental health break from this. He's missing the games for the next 2 weeks just because it is so like. Yeah, I mean, it does grind you down. And I'm starting.
I've got to say though, it kind of annoyed me a bit at the Wrexham game, as suddenly everyone has turned up for that one game, and the ground was packed, and it's like, really?
Yeah, I mean that was always going to happen. I mean, my only criticism on that is when they were doing various different promotions and stuff beforehand. They knew this game was going to be a big game, but on all their things was, ticket to any game except Wrexham. I was like, don't do that. Just put some exclusions or just something that you don't have to big up to say how great Wrexham are. But that was always going to be the case, that they had a whole load of extras coming to that. But in the first half, when you mentioned Charlie, he did have a difficult few minutes where it just, for whatever reason, and I suspect I can guess what the reason is, for whatever reason, it just wasn't sticking to him, or the ball was just going away from him. But he seemed to get over that. So, I mean, were you did you notice it at the time and think, oh God, we're in big trouble now when our centre midfield's having a mare? So, Johnny, what did you sort of think at that point?
I was probably arguing with the steward.
That's one of my talking. That is one of my talking points. Don't you worry.
No, I mean, there was one where I think defensively he completely switched off and they got him down the side, and I think it was Cook actually should have scored. And you think, God, like if we give a chance away like that, and 9 times out of 10 this season they put that chance away, the opposition, and you think, oh, well, that's it now. It must have only been a few minutes. I mean, everyone has spells and tough, a tough couple of minutes, and he was for the rest of the game probably our liveliest player. Got about without doing too much. I mean, he didn't score, but he does look like he's a breath of fresh air really to the team. We haven't had that drive really from midfield. I mean, Eastie is solid and he does a job. He'll break up play and start the counter, but I think Lakin is the one that will really drive that counter forward, if you like. He's the energy in midfield. We haven't really had that this season. He's a similar player to Ali Smith. I think. Without I say without the goals he did score on Tuesday night, to be fair, but hopefully that will come as part of his game. So he's a quality player, and hopefully see a bit more of him going forward.
Yeah, I think he redeemed himself, didn't he? And he wasn't the only one who made a bit of a cock up.
No, I mean, I think it's possibly because the levels he had set, and as you said, since he's come in, he's been a breath of fresh air, as Johnny said, and then all of a sudden it just wasn't sticking. And I was gonna come on to you, Sarah, with did the pitch look in real life as bad as it looked on those pictures? It
was dreadful. It was absolutely dreadful, honestly. I don't know how it got so bad.
So, I mean, a few years ago, we were given an instruction quite clearly that football must be played on grass, and we had to pick up a magic carpet. How much grass was on that pitch?
About 3.
I mean, it just looked like...
And no offence to Bradford or anything, but it wasn't great.
Well, a little offence to Bradford. I mean, they're a big club, and they have 17,000 average gate. Surely they've got some pennies to spend on grass.
I don't think anyone else plays there today as well. They don't have like a women's team there or anything. I mean, it's just if the game had gone on for another 20 minutes with the rain that was falling, it could have got called off. I mean, the side of the pitch, the wings were awful by the end. I mean, the ball was barely moving. It was like, I mean, it didn't look great at the start, but with the rain that came down in the second half, it was terrible.
There were gouges out of that pitch, weren't there? Just every tackle was always a trench.
Well, I mean, footballers, it doesn't really matter what level they're at. If you show them a bit of mud and a ball, they are going to start sliding all over the place because they're like little children at any age. And there was a moment where someone slid, and it was a good long slide that you could see where they were sliding. I was like, if this gets slightly physical in the next sort of little bit, you could start seeing these tackles going quite heavy on people. I mean, it is the same for both teams. As I said in my little video, obviously it's not whinging that, the pitch is awful. We play with the ball in the air most of the time anyway, so it doesn't really affect us that much. But they've got to be more used to it than other teams, the same as our magic carpet, I guess, because we were more used to the good pitch than other players. But did you think it kind of affected our players at all? I mean, it must be heavy running in it as well.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, our pitch isn't great either, to be honest. Every home pitch, the team's going to be slightly more used to it. I mean, that's why I never really got the criticism on the 3G pitch. You think if you're used to, I mean, the worst one was always Eastleigh. It was like, tribute to the song. You go there in January, and it was, they're going to be used to that as much as probably more than we were used to a laser flat pitch. You've got no excuses for not being able to play on a laser flat 3G pitch, I think. I was ranting on about this on the train home, some Chester fan who was stuck with me. I've never really understood it. But at the same time, it is what it is. Like, it wasn't, we say it was terrible. I mean, by League Two standards. If you think back 10 years ago to when we were Conference South and below, we played on a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, no, true.
Yeah, Walsall's was pretty sticky as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But then Walsall's we always seem to go to Walsall quite late in the season when their pitches are big and battering.
Right, but in the first half, I mean, we had some chances, as did they. Dino, one of the points later on, Dino made some good crucial saves. Seems to have kind of get on over his little blip. I don't know what his distribution was like. I mean, but he seemed to be kind of back okay again. And Lee stepped up to take a free kick last, I think it was in added time, I think it might have been. Were you a little bit hopeful that we've hung on for the half and we could just nick it here, and it would be nice that Lee scored it after the penalty debacle last year?
You know what? Some players will go on against their old clubs and they'll always score. Lee Angol is not one of those players, right? I don't think he should be allowed to play against Bradford.
I mean, looking at his career, he'd never be able to play again, I don't think, because the list of his old clubs is quite lengthy, to be honest. Johnny, what did you think? Were you hoping that we were going to come in there?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good free kick. I think the one you're talking about is, he wasn't far away. I mean, to be honest, we probably had the better of the first half. What I remember from the first half is they added on 3 minutes and ended up playing closer to 5, I think, or 5 or 6.
Again, right?
And they had a free kick right at the end of that, and I was thinking, oh god, here we go. Like this, of all the typical Sutton times to concede, that would be one. Like a free kick in the 6th minute, 3 added minutes. So I was actually quite happy to get in level in the end. But yeah, I thought again shaded the first half. Probably had the better of the game until they scored, and then after that, just never really looked like we were going to get back into it.
Yeah, I think so as well.
On that free kick that they got, Sarah, did you see what he'd given the foul for? Because it was a foul. I think Ben had caused the foul, and then when they took the free kick, it was almost like the referee suddenly realised, "Hang on, I've given that free kick in the 5th minute of added time of 3," and then all of a sudden, as the ball came in, there's a foul. It's like, what foul? No one touched anyone.
I was at Bradford actually. I wasn't quite sure what was going on there. Yeah, that's what I was saying to my mates. What's going on here? Yeah.
You and me both.
Yeah, I think he was just like, we need to make sure they don't score from this because I'll be in all sorts of trouble.
There were a lot of free kicks for as soon as we got into their penalty box and we couldn't work out what any of them were for. And to be honest, both ways that he gave a few against them, and it was bizarre. It didn't seem to be anything in it at all.
Well, that's easier to accept than the ref on Tuesday night is when he's giving the free kicks bizarrely for both directions, and you're like, hang on, he's just been rubbish. That's fine, you can handle that. It's when you're being rubbish one way that you can be like, this doesn't seem right. But we came out quite well, and as I think you mentioned the corner one where Harry had it wasn't exactly the most powerful header, but it was goal bound, and the keeper had to make a save. Keeper, who by the way was in Team of the Week on at least one of the things that do Team of the Week, so that's always nice. Than the opposition keeper's Team of the Week, and I think Harry had another chance as well. I'm not sure if that's the first half or second half where he cut in. In first half, I think, where he cut in. But were you feeling confident as the half started with the intensity we were showing when we first came out, Sarah?
Well, what I had said was towards the end of the first half, I was feeling confident towards the end of I know this isn't the question you asked, but towards the end of the first half, I was feeling quite confident because we'd actually been on top for quite a lot of the game. And I said, if we score before half time, I think we've got this in the bag. And of course, we didn't score before half time and we didn't have this in the bag. And we came out and the second half kind of felt a bit different from the first half. And my heart kind of sank a bit after a few minutes. I thought it's not going to happen, is it? It's going to be them. Same old.
And it was. So yeah, you say same old. I mean, there was some. I haven't actually watched it back to them, but someone mentioned the goal might have been offside. I don't think it was. It was actually a really good move. There were some moans about Dino, and it's like he's made about 6 one-on-one saves. You can't.
I think
Dino. One of them.
Dino was had one of his best games since he came. I think it's this season. Since he came to us on loan, I say. He made some really quality saves yesterday, and actually, I think he kept the scoreline respectable. It could have been. There were a few. They could have had 3 or maybe even 4. But he made some really great saves. So I'm not going to hear a word against Dino.
But yeah, Johnny. I mean, you mentioned the goal already, but you were expecting it, and it came. What were you feeling at that point? Were you the same as, that's it, might as well go home now?
Not quite. I mean, it felt a little bit like the Morecambe game where we went behind and we had the better of possession maybe, and that was more of the play, but we never really looked like actually scoring. It was the same at Bradford. I think our heads dropped a bit. There does seem to be a psychological thing where we're just not quite. It's like we don't think we're gonna, once we go behind, it's just sort of that's it. There's no lack of effort, but it just didn't ever feel like we were going to come back into it. The goal itself, I haven't watched it back. It definitely wasn't offside. There was someone who was offside who made no attempt to play the ball, and then Cook's come through 3 or 4 yards onside. It's a good finish. It's not unstoppable, but you wouldn't blame the keeper for it. I mean, you put on like one of the league's top scorers on a 1-on-1. 9 times out of 10, he's going to score it. Is what it is. I mean, we had one good chance at the end with Sanderson, which he made himself, to be fair. And other than that, just never really, nothing of note. It's kind of game went by a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it must be difficult for the players because yes, they've got a coach who obviously feels really strongly about the psychological side of the game, and a Steve Salis is there. I don't know whether he's permanent or just consulting or whatnot, but you can't help it. You're a human. You cannot help it when things are constantly seeming to go against you. It's going to be difficult to raise yourself to go, okay, we've got to do this again. Now we've got a mountain to climb. So it's going to be natural. I mean, you mentioned Ollie's chance. I mean, even that is a snapshot of our season. He had a great chance, good save. Their keeper then cleared it out for the defender cleared it out for a throw on to keep pressure on, and the officials have said goal kick. So,
no, it was.
Where and how did that? Was it? Oh, okay.
It came off Charlie Bacon, yeah. No, it was.
Oh, okay. It definitely looked to me like the keeper, the defender cleared it out.
I mean, at worst, it was a throw-in to them.
Oh, okay.
It wouldn't have been our ball. Charlie blocked the clearance. I think it did just. But I mean, to be fair, the linesman had no idea. I mean, he really guessed it, but it probably was just about out. And if it wasn't, it would have been there throw-in. So, no.
Fair enough. Okay. I'll move on from that one then. But yeah, how do you get over that psychological? Everything seems to be going against us. It's not. It can't be as easy as just going. Okay, it's a brand new game. It's a brand new day. It just has to take its toll. Sarah, what do you think?
Well, like you said, they are humans. But I don't know. I think I agree that it's not easy to do that. But each game, you can see each game as a separate thing. And I think maybe that's the best approach for it. Just because things seem to have gone against you in the last however many of them doesn't mean this one's going to be exactly the same as all the others. So I think probably that's the best approach to take. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I don't know what, what's going on with the players, with the psychological stuff and the coaching. But, I've read a bit about it. It's quite interesting stuff. I do find it quite fascinating. There's different things are clearly going to work for different people. Mm-hmm. We've got quite a mixture of personalities in our squad, as any squad would have. And I do wonder, the sort of things that work for, say, Harry Beautyman might not be the same things that work for Dean Buzanis, because they're very different people with very different outlooks and different attitudes. So it's quite interesting. I wonder what's going on there.
And Johnny, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's something really simple, but just win a game. I mean, it doesn't seem to affect us until we go a goal down. We've been a better team until we've gone a goal down in pretty much all the games since Steve's been here. And go that goal down, and then we start to struggle really. If we go 1-up against Colchester, and we can push it on, or maybe not against Colchester, whoever it is where we get the first win. Hopefully Colchester.
Yeah, let's make it Colchester. Let's do it.
Yeah, be positive. We'll get that first goal, push on, don't have it so we're hanging on with 5 minutes left. Inevitably, everyone's going to be thinking, what if it's another Doncaster? If we can keep being the better team, having gone a goal up, then get a win in 2 or 3-0. So I'm not saying we're the most comfortable thing ever, but just a little bit more than than what we've done recently. And once you get one win, I think it will change, because then the pattern's broken. So the last sort of bit of hope inside me says if we win this Saturday, we're still going to be maybe 7 points adrift. But you can start putting things on a board, and Grimsby and Forest Green are doing better than us, but they're not doing amazingly. So there is some sort of scope there. Just need to get that first 3 points on the board.
I think you're spot on there, Johnny. Definitely. Everything you say about going to go down. And it is about breaking a pattern, because we humans, and especially football fans, we like a pattern and we always notice the patterns. And you do find that, the same thing seems to be happening again and again. But as soon as the pattern's broken, it's broken. And, it's obviously a really important one against Colchester. And the week after, Grimsby are playing Forest Green. And the week after that, we're playing Grimsby. So it's quite an important few weeks coming up. I mean, okay, every week someone's saying this is the important one. We've got to get to the must win. And then the next week someone says the same thing. But this little run of games that's coming up, not all of which will involve us, feels kind of more important, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely the business end of the season. And someone did point, I think it was Tony actually, in the post-match said, I think in the next 4 or 5 weeks we've got Colchester, Grimsby, and Forest Green.
We've got Forest Green the week after week after Grimsby. Yeah. So it's us v Colchester this week, and then next week it's Forest Green against Grimsby, and then the week after that it's us against Grimsby, and the week after that it's us against Forest Green. Yeah. So this will be fun, won't it?
This will be a good few weeks. But I mean, I think Johnny mentioned it or similar. Every game, I know we haven't won a game in Steve's reign, I think it's 8 now. They've been close. There's been no game we've come away game absolutely battered. I mean, there was one game Steve said that's the worst we've played under me, but even that was quite a narrow defeat. It is clutching at straws, and I know I'm desperately looking for positives everywhere. But going to the games, do you feel like these are close matches? These little moments. I know, and someone else said you can't be talking about luck if you've only won 3 or 4 games and 30 odd. You can't be talking about luck all the time. But it's those little moments, the way the ball bounces this direction instead of that direction. It does seem to happen against us more than others. I know you said it evens itself out, Sarah, or it wouldn't be random, but it does seem to go against us more.
Then it's probably not just luck, is it? If it's always happening against us, it's probably not just luck, but there is an element of, I think it's a combination, isn't it? It's a combination of luck and the other factors, which makes it look like it's just luck, but the other factors are at play as well.
Yeah,
it's what you do with that luck that makes it happen one way or the other, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, and I think I said to Jenny the other day, it's easier to remember it when it's important to you. So when you're going well and you're winning games 2 or 3-0, you're not going to remember these little moments because you won the game. You don't remember.
That's what I said to a Bradford friend yesterday. It's like, yeah, Bradford fans, it's just another home win to them. They're going to go away, and we're like, oh.
But Johnny, where do you sort of sit on the narrow defeats and luck playing a part on it?
I think there's a part of it, right? I mean, the Wrexham game, you can look at the handball, which how on earth the linesman or the referee haven't spotted that is quite frankly ridiculous at this level. But then it's probably not a big thing over the course of the season. I mean, even thinking back to the Doncaster game, I mean, they should have had a penalty in the second half of 0-0, I think. So that, luck's not why we're bottom of the league. It might feel in the last couple of games like we're not quite getting the rub of the green. Probably from our own mistakes most of the time. I mean, we do give away cheap goals. The first goal we let in against Wrexham was dreadful. The equaliser against Doncaster was dreadful. I mean, the goal Bradford scored, you can say it's half decent, but we've let in a lot of goals which was just completely our own fault, completely our own making. And we don't take our chances, which isn't really. I mean, you might find a keeper in good form with an element of luck there, but not really. I mean, it's something we need to change ourselves. The luck's not going to turn. I guess is the bottom line.
I think if you're expecting to lose, then you're going to lose, aren't you? It goes back to what you were saying, Johnny, about how the heads drop when we go 1-0 down. It's not luck at that point, is it?
No. Right. So, Dino, we've already discussed, had a great performance. There was one blot where the referee was wrong, but he got himself booked because he was arguing with the referee where to take a free kick. because the liner was pointing. He was in line with the linesman, but the referee wanted him to move back. I don't think ever in the history of argument with the referee has the referee ever went, "Oh, do you know what? I'm so sorry. You're quite correct, sir. Carry on as you were." So it's like you knew you weren't going to win that, so just move on, take the free kick, and pump it forward. But there were, for 87 people, there were an incredible amount of comments about the stewards. Did you get a sense of, were they expecting those London people to be really violent and horrid? We've been there before, so there's never been any issues.
Well, if it helps, my mate from Mansfield says they're exactly the same with them.
Right.
So it's not just London teams.
So what was it? What made it so different to previous times, or is it just the same as previous times and people have just went moaning about this?
I thought they saw us as an easy win. They've obviously, they think at some point they've got to bully someone or make themselves look like the big man, and they thought, there's only 87 of them, but there's only 12 of them stood up. We'll tell them to sit down because they're not going to complain. They wouldn't have done that. Wrexham were there the other week. They wouldn't have told 1,000 Wrexham fans to sit down, would they? It's ridiculous. And they obviously just saw it as an easy win, come in and bully some people, throw our arms around and make ourselves look big. And yeah, it's the complete opposite of thinking we would be trouble. I think they knew that we'd be no trouble at all. And that's why they tried to shove everyone around. It is ridiculous. The way I think there were probably more stewards stood up around the people they're trying to get to sit down than there were people there. And it's just, I've never seen anything like it in my however many years, probably 10 years of doing away games now. Just such pointless arguing over nothing, like to try and get a group of 20 people, 10 people, whatever it was, stood up to sit down. And then that holds 500 people. It's unbelievable, to be honest. And it pissed a lot of people off, understandably, and it was a bit of a black mark on the day, really.
Yeah, to be clear, that the comments were long before the result. Some even before the match started were coming through. So I don't know what can happen, but I did tweet out the complaints page, because interestingly they got a complaints page, and also Claire said message her with details. I think some of these clubs need to remember this is an entertainment industry. If you went to the cinema and someone started screeching at you and shouting at you and bullying you, you'd be like, "I'll have a refund, thanks. I'm not having that." But it's a bit different when you travel all that way. You can't just go, "No, I'm leaving, sorry." But football fans shouldn't have to just put up with this kind of nonsense. Definitely complain if anyone's got it, and contact Sarah or the complaints page. Not Sarah. Sarah doesn't want to. Well, Sarah would love. I don't want to hear. Sarah would love to know, but she'll just direct it on to Claire. Pass it on to Claire, not Sarah. Honestly, don't tell Sarah. But we will move on to Colchester, where I am fully expecting us to take a nice, quick fire, early couple 3-goal lead, because I'm going to be late because Rosie's ballet is doing their awards thing at 2:00, and so I'm going to see her get her award and then rush off to the football. So I will miss kickoff, and I probably until 20-25 minutes in. So I fully expect to come in and everyone going, "Oh my god, this has been amazing, where have you been?" But what are you looking for in this game, Sarah? Are you expecting anything out of it, or are you just hoping to get through it?
I think it's kind of coming. It's been building up over the last few games. This is me being really hopeful again, right? The way we've played over the last few games, not all of the last few games, but a lot. So, all right, let's just say the last 2 games, right? We've played pretty well. We've lost, especially Wrexham. But I don't want to talk about Wrexham because it makes me angry. Right. So I feel like it's coming, and the opposition we've been against has been in those 2 games. Although Bradford didn't play great, but to be honest, Wrexham didn't either. But we expect them to be a cut above, possibly Colchester, who are low in the table. It's about blimmin' time we did something. It just feels like there's a lot of bad luck going on, and there's a lot of, we're playing well and we're not getting anything for our efforts. We're all saying it's got to happen sooner or later. So this has got to be it, right? This has got to be it. Let's do it.
Must win game.
Yeah. Well, there's no such thing as one must-win game until you get to the point where if you don't win that game, then you're mathematically down or what have you. But it does feel more important just because if Colchester also drop points, then it's to our advantage. I don't know. It wouldn't be easy to catch them now, of course, but it's more important than like Wrexham or Bradford dropping points to us.
Yeah, it keeps them interested in what's going on as well.
If I've got to choose, though, I'd rather get a result of Tranmere because that's my birthday.
Tranmere did well the other day. They
absolutely did, didn't they?
Yeah. Johnny, what are you looking for from Saturday?
Yeah, I agree with Sarah. I think we're playing well. We've got to win at some point, right? Fingers crossed. I'll probably try and convince myself when I say that. It's a big game. I actually think that it'll be Grimsby and Forest Green. Like, if we stay up, they'll be the two that go down. So I don't actually think it's the 6-pointer that it might seem on the face of it. But a win from anywhere and everything suddenly changes. We could be, in an ideal world, 4 points adrift by 5 o'clock on Saturday. We still got to play Grimsby in a couple of weeks. They've just lost 5-1 home to Doncaster, haven't they? So they're not exactly flying by. You never know. But if we can just keep these performances going, just a couple of chances that are going wide or going to the keeper, find the back of the net, and just cut out the mistakes, which I know we've been saying all season, but I think we are slowly getting there. Then we'll have to win one soon. And if we can get that on Saturday, then I think it just changes the picture completely. Yeah,
on Grimsby, I'm massively confused because ever since we've come into the league, I think David Artell had just been sacked by Crewe, and all I ever heard every time a manager was or a club was looking for a new manager, David Artell. And it's like, how have I been hearing this bloke? It should be given a job for 2 years. And he's never actually got a job. And everyone's like, he's a great manager. And he's coming to Grimsby. And already Grimsby fans are going, get rid of him. He doesn't know what he's doing. I'm like, this is a person who's been out of work and he's the greatest manager ever. And as soon as he's in work, he's like, that's it. Job him off. Get rid.
Grimsby do like to sack a manager, though, don't they?
Yeah. And they were one of the clubs that when we were changing manager, them and Colchester, everyone's going, but they've already appointed the managers. And it's like, they've got a process. They know how to do this. We've never done this before. So give us a chance. I don't think you two are in my prediction league, but we're going to pop up the thing for the prediction league. The top of the prediction league is Andy and Paul. They're both on 106 points. So I think Andy may have got Sutton's lack of goals correct. Boo to both of them. But the code is on the screen if anyone wants to join. It's mostly just for fun at the moment because you won't catch up by now, but you'll get a head start for next season. So if you want to join, jump on there. But Johnny, what's your prediction?
Well, inevitably Ali Smith will score, won't he? So we'll win 3-1.
3-1 for Ali. Okay. And all our 3 goals coming in the first 15, 20 minutes.
That would do for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sarah, what do you think?
Weirdly enough, I was going to say 3-1 as well. I don't really think we're going to win 3-1, but I'm going to say it because then that'll make it happen, right? That's how these things work, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, despite what I expect in goals nice and early and everyone sitting there nice and relaxed by the time I rock up, I'm going to hope for a nervy 2-1 with both goals coming in the last few minutes to just give us that thing of, okay, we have come back from a goal behind. We can do it and get that extra psychological boost. So I'm going to go 2-1.
I wouldn't mind a 3-2, actually. That'd be exciting.
Or 3-2. Oh,
yeah,
go on, we'll change that to 3-2. Go on.
Yeah.
Have a 6-5 ding-dong. Let's do that.
I don't want to give our opponents more goals, but it just kind of feels more likely.
Yeah. Okay, couple of quick things. I probably should have mentioned this at the start. This lovely piece of artwork here is by Rosie. So she made me put it here and said I have to mention it. Look at the eyelashes on Jenny the giraffe. Look at that. So that's got to go up in the office with all the other stuff that I'm not allowed to put up in here as well. And I did mention already, we will be back on Wednesday, all things considered, with a chat with Steve, where Johnny, I'm going to plug your book. I'm going to get your book in there because I listened to another one of his interviews, and he mentioned one of the exact same things that you said in your book about it's no good catching people or dealing with people as they fall off the cliff. It's stopping them going to the cliff. And I was like, okay, he mentioned that. And I was like, hang on, no, I swear that was in Johnny's book. So I'm going to get a real cheap plug in there as well. So
I hope Steve's read Johnny's book.
Well, it will be along the lines of, have you read, did you know, or we'll get a copy to you. So yeah, it will be along those lines there as well. From me when he goes, yeah, I have. What did you think of it? Oh, I thought I wanted it to be rubbish, but it wasn't. So I wanted to mock Johnny. I think I put that on my Amazon review, by the way, Johnny. I really wanted this book to be bad so I could mock Johnny, but
you're an annoyingly good writer, Johnny.
Yes. Really, really cross.
Thank you. High praise indeed.
Exactly. And also, as mentioned, got Lucy as well, where we will be discussing various different things, and it is EFL LGBT a fortnight month. I have no idea what they're doing. They kind of suddenly started it. Is it a fortnight? Okay.
For a fortnight.
For a fortnight. So yeah, we'll be talking various bits about that as well, and it should be interesting because I have a very lack of interest in people's genitalia, so I'll be like, what you do with it, I don't care, but what people's reactions are, I care that people get cross about other things. So it'll be interesting to hear some of the reactions, because if you do follow Lucy on social media, you will see some of the posts are absolutely fucking horrendous. So it'll be nice to hear how that is dealt with or not dealt with. But we're going to wrap up this episode, and as always, we appreciate your attention and your feedback. Please follow, like, share, etc., Sutton Podcast on social medias. And thank you to Lucky Star Gin, thank you to Sarah, thank you to Johnny, and we will have a Meet the Managers, and it should be on Wednesday with both Steve and Lucy. It may be a mammoth one, or it may be very, very brief. We will find out when I talk to them. But take care, and we will catch up soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. United! 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 United!